Hello, and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Vice Vice Baby, where we will continue the journey of Becky and Neddie Stubtail. Story 26, Helping Uncle Wigwag. One day, when Neddie and Becky Stubtail, the little bear children, came home from school, they saw in the dining room Uncle Wigwag, the funny old bear gentleman who was always playing jokes. And Uncle Wigwag was laughing and chuckling and giggling to himself, bobbing up and down and tickling himself on his ribs to make himself laugh all the harder. And then he'd sit down in a chair and hold his sides with his paws because they ached so from his jollity. Why, what in the world can be the matter with Uncle Wigwag? Asked Becky, dropping her books and hurrying towards him. Maybe he's sick, suggested Nettie. I guess I'd better run for Dr. Possum. Sick? He isn't sick at all, exclaimed Aunt Piffy, the fat old lady bear. He's just up to some of his tricks. If you ever joke with him again that way. She went on looking at Uncle Wigwag, sort of sharp like. If you ever do that again, I'll never give you any maple sugar on your honey cakes. Oh, what did he do? Tell us, cried Nettie and Becky, while Uncle Wigwag laughed harder than ever. Why, he came home from the 5 and 10 cent store. I guess it must have been, explained Aunt Piffy. And he gave me a box to open. He asked me if I didn't want a new side hair comb, and of course I did. Well, when I opened the box, out popped a green snake. I was so scared that I ran down cellar and hid, and I nearly lost my breath, and could hardly find it again. Oh dear. And Piffy fanned herself with her apron. She was so warm. Well, said Uncle Wigwag, and he stopped laughing long enough to talk. I really didn't say there was a side comb in the box, Aunt Piffy. Besides, it really wasn't a snake, he said, turning to Nettie and Becky. It was only a snake made of paper, with a spring inside, like a jack-in-the-box. Oh, I know, said Nettie. Where is it? Let me take it, and I'll play a joke on some of the fellows at school. Take it, exclaimed Aunt Piffy. I don't want to see it again. And mind you, she said to Uncle Wigwag, shaking her paw at him, if you joke with me any more, no maple sugar on your fried eggs for breakfast. Oh, I'll be good, said the old bear gentleman. But it was very hard for Uncle Wigwag to stop playing jokes. A little later that afternoon, he gave Becky what she thought was a candy egg, and when she tried to bite into it, thinking it was nice and sweet, the egg popped open, and the little chicken inside, made of paper and feathers, crowed just like a rooster, and Becky nearly jumped out of her hair ribbon, she was so surprised. Ha ha ha, laughed Uncle Wigwag. That was a good joke. I don't think so, said Becky, sort of sorrowful like. Don't you? Well, maybe it wasn't, spoke Uncle Wigwag. Anyhow, here's a penny for you to buy some real candy. Uncle Wigwag was always that way. First, he'd play a joke on you, and then he'd do you a kindness. He was quite nice after all. And, a little later, Nettie was looking for a pencil to write down some of his homeschool work on his paper pad. Here's a good pencil, said Uncle Wigwag, taking one from his pocket. Nettie didn't think anything, and started to write with the pencil. But as soon as he did so, it bounced out of his paw and jumped around on the floor. For inside, it was a jumping jack. It was a trick pencil, and Uncle Wigwag had played another joke. Excuse me while I laugh, said the old gentleman bear, and Nettie laughed, for rather he liked the trick pencil. And then Uncle Wigwag played another trick. Oh, but He was full of them that day, wasn't he? I guess he must have been roaming around 2 or 3 5 and 10 cent stores to find those jokes. The last trick Uncle Wigwag played was on Mr. Whitewash, the polar bear gentleman. Mr. Whitewash used to have a cup of tea every afternoon while he sat down to read the paper about whether it was going to be cold or hot the next day. Mr. Whitewash used to sit on the cake of ice, because he liked everything cold, except his tea, and he did not like warm weather at all. Well, he was sitting there, reading his paper, and sort of not looking at what he was doing. He reached out his paw to take his cup of tea, with his eyes still on the paper, and when he picked up the cup and started to drink from it, there was no tea in it. Instead, Uncle Wigwag had put some ink, and when Mr. Whitewash, not looking at it, started to drink it, the ink spilled all over his white fur. It made him look like a spotted clown in the circus. Ha ha ha, laughed Uncle Wigwag. That's a fine joke. I don't think so, said Mr. Whitewash, and you had better look out, or I'll play a joke on you. Uncle Wigwag felt sorry he had done such a thing, and he helped Mr. Whitewash clean the ink off his white fur. Neddie and Beckie helped also. And a little later, the polar bear gentleman said to the two children, "You just watch and see what trick I shall play on Uncle Wigwag." So, Neddie and Beckie watched, though they didn't see any for some time. But towards dark that evening, when Neddie was bringing his wood to fill the box inside the kitchen stove, he heard someone crying in the fields across the way from the bear cave. "Help! Help! Oh, help!" cried the voice. "Why, who can that be?" asked Beckie, who was watching Neddie bring in the wood. "I'm sure I don't know," answered the little bear boy, "but I'm going to see." "Oh, you'd better not," spoke Beckie. "Maybe it's the battle lion." "Yes, and maybe it's Uncle Wiggily, the nice rabbit gentleman. He may be in trouble," went on Neddie. "Come on, it isn't far. We'll go see. We must help Uncle Wiggily. There was no one else in the bear cave just then to go to help of whoever was calling, as Mrs. Stubtail and Aunt Piffy had gone over to the house of Mrs. Cat, the kitten children's mamma, to ask about making sugar pie. So, Neddie and Beckie had to do whatever they were going to do all by themselves. They hurried on towards where they heard the voice. It was still calling, "Help! Help! Oh, will no one help me?" "Yes, we are coming," answered Neddie. And then he and Beckie ran around the corner by a stump, and they saw, sitting there, Uncle Wigwag, the old joking bear gentleman himself. He did not seem to be in any trouble, and the bear children wondered what had happened to him. "Help! Help!" he called. "Why, what is the matter?" asked Neddie. "If you're in trouble, why don't you come away? I see no one hurting you." "No, you can't see it, but I'm in trouble just the same," said the bear gentleman, making a funny face. "I am frozen fast to a cake of ice." "Frozen to a cake of ice?" said Beckie in surprise. "Yes, it's a trick played on me by Mr. Whitewash, but I'm not complaining about it. It serves me right for playing on so many jokes today, especially the one on him with the ink. I was walking along thinking of a new joke to try when I saw what I thought was a nice seat here by this old stump. The seat had a blanket over the top and a sign saying, 'Please sit down on me.' Well, of course I sat down, and before I knew it, I was frozen fast. You see, there was a cake of ice under the blanket, and I'm sure Mr. Whitewash put it there, just to fool me." "I guess he did," said Neddie. and he could hardly keep from laughing, for Uncle Wigwag looked so funny, frozen fast. "Can't you help me?" asked the bear gentleman. "You see, Mr. Whitewash can sit on a cake of ice without freezing to it, for he is used to living at the North Pole. But I am not. Oh dear, I am freezing tighter and tighter. Maybe I have to stay here all night." "Oh no, we will help you," said Neddie kindly. So he and Becky blew their warm breath on the cake of ice, and soon it was melted enough so that Uncle Wigwag could pull himself loose. And very glad indeed he was to get up. Then along came Mr. Whitewash, saying, as he combed his claws through his white fur, "Well, I see my trick worked after all." "Yes," spoke Uncle Wigwag, "it did, and it served me right. Now, let's all go and have some hot chocolate, for I am chilled through." So, they had the hot chocolate in the drugstore, and everybody was happy, and Uncle Wigwag didn't play any more tricks until the next time. And if the cat in our backyard doesn't try to walk across the clothesline and fall off into the ash can, I'll tell you next about Beckie Stubtail and her wax doll. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Bedtime Stories with Vice Vice Baby. I hope you all have a good night and sweet dreams.